Hello and good morning to everybody at the Queen Elizabeth Foundation's Try Before You Fly event today. I'm really sorry that I can't be with you. Childcare didn't allow for me to be able to travel out today. But I've got some questions which Graham Race has very kindly sent over for me to answer about flying and autism. As an autism advocate and an adult on the autistic spectrum, I do fly quite regularly. And I also try and take my two autistic daughters with me everywhere I go. So we have a few little tricks up our sleeve which help with travelling and flights. So Graham's first question that he's asked me is, what assistance do I request when booking a flight? So the first one is early boarding. I do ask that when we get to the gate, I mean, every airline's different. I can recommend EasyJet and I can recommend Virgin Airlines. They've been absolutely amazing, but there's other good airlines too. I ask if it's okay for me and the girls to get on the plane even just 5 or 10 minutes before they have their early boarding. And the reason for that is I can get the girls into their seats. We can get we normally take hand luggage because we do short trips. Get all the hand luggage put away, and we can also use the bathrooms and get settled down before that kind of hustle and bustle of 1,000 people getting on the aeroplane. And also meals, because I didn't do this once. I didn't do this on the way to America. I just assumed that there would be kind of like an adult's meal and a kid's meal, and we ended up with 2 adults' meals. One which, for people that have autistic children will know, one had green bits in it. Herbs, and it was actually really tasty. However, a lot of autistic children and adults can sometimes find new foods a little bit tricky. So I do now always ask about meals and what will be on board beforehand and make sure that's sorted. Also, I was asked by Graham, how do I prepare for arrival at the airport for the flight? So I always use a taxi, which is obviously a little bit more expensive than trains, but if you're going, as a family, rather than a single individual, it's actually probably quite cheaper to go by taxi than several train fares. And the reason I do it is because it's less transitions. Sometimes with a train, you might have to get the bus to get to the train station, then you have to get the train to the airport. It's much easier just to kind of come out the door, get in a car, and the children can be entertained with their phones, iPads, gadgets, whatever they do, and then get straight to the departure lounge. So that's a lot easier. I also do things which mean I don't have to faff a lot. So I check in online, and then obviously we have to be very careful with what we take, our liquids. So I have lots of seafood bags at home, and from previous adventures, and I make sure we fill up everything in miniature when we get there. So we don't have to kind of go, somebody got a squash or somebody got a spray or whatever we can't have on board. That's already done, so it's really, really quick when we get there, and we only have to kind of scan a bit of paper with our barcode because we've already checked in online. Now, another thing which is quite good to do if you're anxious about what the event's got to look like, sometimes you can imagine things to be a lot more scary, especially if you haven't flown before. You might think, what does the plane seat look like, and how big's the plane, how small's the plane? And one thing I did when I took my daughter to America was Virgin Airlines, fantastic, we booked our seats beforehand, and I also imaged the actual inside of that plane type, so I can actually show my daughter, this is what the plane seats look like, this is actually our seat because we've already booked our seat, this is our seat here, and this is where the toilets will be, and this is where this is. And it was actually quite exciting to have a look at it beforehand. Also with Virgin Airlines, I feel like I'm bigging them up, but they were fantastic. Also with Virgin Airlines, if you're going on a long haul flight, they do in some of their aeroplanes have an upstairs and a downstairs. Now, I think it's £25 per person to upgrade to one of these upstairs seats, but it's really worth it. There's hardly anyone up there, and the best thing for my daughter was being able to sit there and she could actually see the pilot and all of the buttons, and that kept her entertained forever, to be honest. And it's a lot more quiet. There's not as many queues for the toilet. There was actually no queues to use the toilets upstairs. It's a lot smaller, and I think for £25, or it may have gone up, but at the time that was a real lifesaver to be able to do that for us. So what advice would I share for anyone on board? Okay, so I would say it's more of a parenting tip, really, but which people do with their children aren't autistic or not. But obviously we know autistic children have very, very special interests. So play to those special interests and don't have little things out for them to see straight away. There is so much on board nowadays, be it magazines or programs, films. Let those be exhausted, and when they are, if they can be exhausted, because there's tons, and people start getting a little bit fretty, pull out, you know, the trump card, the magic thing from the magic bag, which could be, if it's Doctor Who, a comic about Doctor Who, or if it's Mermaid, for example, Mermaids is big for us, or Lego. Hide a comic or something to do with their special interests, so when they are starting to feel a little bit anxious, it just kind of takes their mind off of it a bit. Also, what advice to share on board? There are different noises, aren't there? Noises that you don't expect, and turbulence can be really scary. So I think maybe talk about turbulence before you're on board, actually, and explain that, you know, it might feel scary, but it's not. It's just the weather, and it's fine. And also ear defenders. It may be the case that somebody sat close to you might be eating a funny noise, or they might be a little bit too loud for you, or something that's upsetting, any kind of sensory issues. Always make sure you have ear defenders and headphones. If they don't want to, maybe a teen, an autistic adult sometimes feel a bit self-aware, wearing, you know, the headgear as they get older. So with teenagers that are autistic, or indeed adults ourselves, take really good headphones, and then it might just look like you're listening to an iPod or something. Take really, really good ones, and don't rely on the headphones that you can that you have on board. I think, just rounding off, the most important thing about being autistic and travelling is don't be frightened to. I think our greatest asset is our curiosity and our wanting to learn and our wanting to engage. So don't let travel put you off. And it's incredibly scary, especially as a single parent who's autistic with autistic children. It's incredibly scary to go abroad for the first time without another adult and being responsible for other people. But do it. Because it's marvellous, and there are some really, really good people out there, some incredibly kind staff, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I'm absolutely gutted I can't be with you, but take care. Bye.